So, as we discussed in our previous video, the purpose of IR35 is to determine your employment status, whether you are an independent contractor working for your client or whether you are what's called a disguised employee, whether you should really be on the payroll of your client. Figuring out your IR35 status can be very tricky. The main way you can do it is by applying 3 tests, which have been established in case law as kind of the de facto way you figure out your IR35 status. Here's Chris again with a bit of background on those tests.
The 3 key tests of IR35 are personal service, control and mutuality of obligations. These tests were underpinned by case law in 1968. When looking at the case law, you only have to though pass one of the 3 elements to not be within IR35. Seeking professional help can really help in this matter, as they could look at both the contractual wording and the working practices. This is particularly important because if HMC were to investigate, they would look at both these elements as well.
So, as Chris mentioned there, one of the 3 tests you can use to help determine your IR35 status is called Mutuality of Obligation, or sometimes abbreviated to MU. This refers to the obligations that you have to your client and your client has back to you, and broadly can be split into 2 parts. The first of which is the obligations you have within your current contract. So if you can get up and leave whenever you like, that's a pretty good indicator that you are an independent contractor. If you have to give your client a month's notice before you can leave, that's an indicator that maybe you're a disguised employee and you could be inside IR35. The second part of mutuality of obligation refers to the obligations you have after your contract. So let's say you are a designer working for an agency and you are building a website, you finish it, you go to your boss and say, "This website's finished, boss," and they say, "Brilliant, good job, here's the next one." That's because they have an obligation to give you more work because you're an employee. If you're working on a contract basis, once you finish the work you were originally hired to do, there shouldn't be any obligation to give you more work. So that's the basics of mutuality of obligation. In other videos, we're going to cover the other IR35 tests. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please leave them down here in the comments and we'll get Chris to answer them for you.